Hey, welcome. Have you ever looked at a map of the US and just kind of scratched your head? I mean, some of those borders look, well, weird, right? You are definitely not alone. Today, we're diving into this really cool thought experiment from Geography by Jeff that's all about redrawing the entire map of America. And trust me, the reasons why are pretty surprising.
So yeah, that's the big question, right? Do America's borders actually make any sense? So many of them are just these ruler straight lines cutting across the landscape. Do they have anything to do with the actual geography or the culture of the people living there? Or are they just leftovers from history? And that's exactly the point our source, Jeff, is making. He argues that as the US grew, a lot of these states were drawn up for what he calls, and I'm quoting here, stupid political reasons, not because it made any logical sense. The result? A country with borders that, yeah, look pretty fake. So he decided to fix it, and we're going to walk through exactly how he does it.
Okay, so here's the plan. First, we'll get into why the borders look so fake. Then we're going to start fixing things, undoing some duplicate states, completely remapping the American West, and then tidying up the East. After all that, we've got to figure out how to get back to 50 states. And finally, we'll reveal the real point behind this whole thing. Let's do it.
All right, first up, why do US borders look so fake? Well, before we can draw new lines, we have to understand what's wrong with the old ones. The main idea here is that so many of these borders, especially those perfect squares out west, completely ignore things like mountains and rivers. They were just drawn for political convenience a long, long time ago.
Okay, section 2, undoing the duplicates. Let's jump right in with the easiest fixes. We're talking about reuniting states that used to be one single territory, but got split up for reasons that, well, according to Jeff, just don't hold up anymore. You could call it a big map family reunion.
This is a perfect example. Take the Dakotas. They were split from one territory just to give a political party more senators in Congress. In this new map, boom, they're back together as one state, Dakota. Same deal with the Carolinas. They were split because of a fight over war funding. Again, not a great reason, so they're back to being just Carolina.
But you know what's really interesting? Not all the duplicates get merged. The Virginias actually stay separate. And you might be asking why. Well, it's because West Virginia broke away for what Jeff calls a very good reason. They wanted to stay with the Union during the Civil War. That's a powerful statement. So yeah, West Virginia keeps its statehood.
Okay, the duplicates are handled. Now we head west for the main event. And I mean, this is where things get really wild. We're talking a complete overhaul of the map. Forget all those straight lines. We are about to redraw the square states based on how the land actually looks.
So how are we going to do this? There are rules, 4 of them to be exact. Step 1, follow the Continental Divide. You know, that big line down the Rockies that decides if water flows to the Atlantic or the Pacific. Step 2, use other big mountain ranges. Step 3, trace the major rivers. And finally, step 4, define states by deserts. It's all about making the map make sense with the actual geography.
And wow, look at the results. This is a huge change. States like Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, they get split right in half along the mountains. Their western parts, they just get absorbed by their neighbors, like Idaho and Utah. Nevada goes all in on being a desert state, grabbing desert land from California and Oregon. And Oregon's border gets cleaned up to follow the Snake River. It's a total transformation.
Now let's head over to the Great Plains for some other fixes. These are smaller, but they're so satisfying. Kansas finally gets the entire Kansas City. I mean, as Jeff says, come on guys, that one should be obvious. And check this out. Oklahoma gets the Texas Panhandle. This creates a really nice, clean border along the Red River. Makes a ton of sense, though I'm not sure how Texans would feel about it.
All right, let's shift gears and head back east. Now, the map here is a lot older, and the borders already tend to follow rivers and mountains a bit more. So the changes aren't quite as dramatic as what we saw out west. Think of it more like a few surgical tweaks instead of a total overhaul. But there are definitely some awkward spots that need tidying up. So what's on the chopping block? Well, that little bit of Louisiana east of New Orleans. That's going to Mississippi now. The western part of Florida's Panhandle? That's a much better fit for Alabama. Then you have the Appalachian states. They get split along their own mountain divide, just like we saw with the Rockies. Oh, and the Delmarva Peninsula? You know, the one shared by 3 states? Nope, now it's all just one bigger, stronger Delaware.
And we can't leave out the Midwest. There's a big change here. Michigan's Upper Peninsula, which, let's be honest, is basically attached to Wisconsin, now officially becomes part of Wisconsin. But hey, don't feel too bad for Michigan. In return, they get the Toledo Strip back from Ohio, finally settling a super old fight. So, fair trade?
So, step 5.
how do we get back to 50 states? Okay, we've redrawn the whole country, which is awesome, but we've got a problem. Remember how we merged the Dakotas and the Carolinas? Well, that means we're now down 2 states. We can't have a 48-star flag. That's just not right. So we got to find 2 new states somewhere.
Yep, look at that number, 48. After all that redrawing, we're 2 states short. So where are we going to find them? According to our guide, Joff, the answer is in the U.S. territories.
And statehood candidate number 1 is probably the one you're already thinking of, Puerto Rico. It's already a U.S. territory, and the case for making it a state is incredibly strong, especially when you just look at the raw numbers.
I mean, look at this. This chart says it all. Puerto Rico has over 3 million people. That's way more than a bunch of current states like Wyoming or Vermont. So in this new map, it becomes the 49th state. And for good measure, it also absorbs the nearby U.S. Virgin Islands.
Okay, so what about number 50? For that, we're heading way out into the Pacific Ocean. The idea is to combine the territories of Guam and the Northern Mariana Islands into one brand new state called Mariana. Now, it would definitely be the smallest state by population, but the creator points out that it's strategically really important. And hey, fun fact, Nevada became a state with less than 8,000 people, so there's precedent.
And just like that, we have our new map, a totally redrawn, geographically logical 50-state America. It looks pretty cool, right? But just when you think the exercise is over, the creator pulls a fast one and reveals what this whole thing was really about.
Yeah, because it turns out this entire exercise, it wasn't actually about redrawing borders. It wasn't just some fun geography puzzle. This whole new map, with all these crazy changes, is really just a metaphor for something much, much bigger.
And here it is, the real message, the whole point of this thought experiment. The creator, Jeff, says it right here. The reality is that we all have to play our part in fixing and improving this country, and the only way we can play that part is by voting. It's not about literally changing the map. It's about recognizing that the real way to fix things, to make improvements, is to get involved, to vote.
Wow. What a powerful way to make a point, right? And it leaves us with a great final question to chew on. Even though the map is a metaphor, it's still a really fun idea to think about. So I'll leave you with this. After seeing all these changes, if you had the power to redraw just one border, what would it be? Let that sink in. Thanks so much for tuning in.